Hey everybody, and welcome to Northeast Mississippi Community College. I'm Luann Ford, my husband Ricky Ford is president here, and you have tuned in to the latest installment of Food with the First Lady. I'm speaking to you from the Northeast Community College Nutrition Center, where we try to promote good nutrition and fitness. You can access this. I don't know whether you went through the Northeast Fitness Facebook page or maybe the Northeast YouTube channel, but we invite you to tune in to Northeast for all the activities we have here. Today, I'm going to prepare the first of 3 soups that we'll be doing. You can access the others on this channel as well. The first one that we're going to do is potato soup. Now, while I talk to you, I'm going to go ahead and do some prep. This is just a potato. This is a russet potato. I use an old-timey peeler to quickly peel the potato. We have to be careful, girls and guys, when we peel potatoes because they are round, and when you're cutting, they might roll, and you have to be very careful with them. So let me show you what I do. Of course, we don't want those peelings. I'm going to move them out of the way right there, and I can throw those away later. The way I cut a potato is, it's like I say, it's round and it rolls, obviously. So I'll cut one side of it to make that flat. So I'll roll it onto the flat side so that it won't roll again. Then I'll make one more cut, so I've got 2 flat sides, and I'll go ahead and cut these 2 in half, take my knife, and I'll cube those up. So that leaves me now with a flat surface, so that not only is there a flat surface for me to cut this side, I can fold it, roll it over, and I've got another flat side on this side so that it can be secure when I cut that last. And so I'll slice it up. Now what I have done here is I bought 5 pounds of russet potatoes, and I went ahead and cut up everything else. Okay, so that's just dry potatoes in there. Now, the way I make potato soup is I just cut up however many potatoes I want for the number of people I want to feed. So this is, like I said, this is 5 pounds, and so that's about halfway up this big Dutch oven here. Okay, so then you'll put some onion in. Now, I want to talk to you about onion and how I cut up onion. You'll put however much, if you like a little onion, put a little onion in there. If you don't like onion, don't put onion in there. Put whatever you want. But 1 onion is going to be about what I would like for 5 pounds worth of potatoes. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about how I cut up an onion. I cut the 2 ends off first, and I save these ends, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I'm going to put those right there. I wear contacts, and when you wear contacts, it's a whole lot easier to cut up an onion. If I ever am not wearing my contacts and I'm wearing my glasses and I'm cutting up an onion, man, I'm crying everywhere. But when I have my contacts on, I'm not. So that's a good thing for those of us who wear contacts. That's one of the pluses. All right, so again, this is another round vegetable. So I cut it in half, so I've got a flat surface to work with. There are a million ways to cut up an onion, but this is the way I always do it. I found it's easier this way. So I've cut it up and I sliced it. Now you know that there are ribs to your onion. So you've already got these sections right here. So if I'm going to dice it up, I'm just going to use those sections as part of, and I've already got all my things diced. So I'm going to lay it on a flat side, and then I'm just going to dice the rest of it around like that. Now that doesn't make it really, really small necessarily, but I don't need it really small for this recipe, number 1. Number 2, it doesn't make them all necessarily uniform, but it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to say, oh, there's a piece of onion that's big in my soup. There's a piece of onion that's small in my soup. Nobody's going to care because it's going to all be done. It's all going to be cooked together. So we're going to put our onion on top of our potatoes. So far, it's pretty nutritious, guys. We're not going to put any flour in here or anything like that. Just going to be vegetables. All right, we've got our potatoes and we've got our onion. Now I've gone ahead and pre-prepared some celery here. But I wanted to show you how I do my celery. Of course, I've already washed this rib, and I want to save the ends. celery is one of the dirtiest vegetables that you can buy. It is. So whenever you go to the grocery store and you break a rib off, you certainly need to watch it because it's going to have dirt in it. So what I do is I just go down through, and usually into 4 pieces I'll go ahead and slice my celery. If you don't like celery, then don't put it in. Just do it how you like it, whatever you like. You do it the way you like. All right, so this is my celery. I'll add it to the celery I had already pre-prepared. And you just put however many much celery. That's probably like 3. I would say that was probably 3 ribs of it. All right, I went ahead and I put ham in mine. Now, some people put bacon in it, or they put bacon in at the end, and you can do that. If you want to have a meatless potato soup, then don't put any meat in it at all. I put ham in mine. Now, I'm going to show you what I do. During Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving, when I cook a spiral sliced ham, which we really like, there's always a lot left. And so what I do is I'll take my ham and I'll wrap the leftover up like this. Okay? So I'll put it in some foil and I'll close it up as tightly as I can. I'll put it in a bag and I'll freeze it. Then last night when I got ready to make this video, I went ahead and got this ham and I thawed it out to cut up for the video. Now I've got one little piece of my ham left over. I want to show you what I would just dice it. So we'll go one way and cut it, and we'll go the other way and cut it, and then we've got some little pieces of ham. All right, so we'll put that in here. Okay, now I want you to look and see what we have. We have 5 pounds of potatoes. We've got 1 onion. We've got 2 or 3 ribs of celery, and we've got a wad of ham, however much you like. Okay, guys, we're going to come around over here to the other side, and we're going to put this on to cook. So come over here with me. All right, guys. Now we're here at the on the stove. So let me see if I can work this stove at the Nutrition Center. I'll go ahead. Y'all, I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. I'm gonna turn it way up because we want to bring it to a boil. Okay, now guys, I've got nothing in here but just dry vegetables. All right. So we're gonna set that on the stove, and I'm gonna barely cover it. All right. I'm gonna barely cover it with water, and let me explain to you why. All right. Let me see. First of all, we want to cover everything that's in there. All right. So we're barely covering everything that's in there, and the reason that we want to do that is because I don't want to dump out any of the broth, because let me tell you what I'm going to add to it. So I've got some garlic here, and I'm not a purist, and I don't have to have, to me, garlic is garlic. So I'm just going to take some of this. If you have garlic powder, you could use that. We like garlic, and so I put a lot in there, but I do use this pre-minced. It doesn't cost very much, and so I like using it. Now guys, this is ground mustard. This adds a really good flavor, and I like it. If you don't like it, don't put it in there. Same with the garlic. If you don't like it, don't put it in there. Now this is a chicken broth base. You can use chicken bouillon cubes. Instead of putting water in here, you can put chicken bouillon. Or chicken broth or something like that. I usually just grab this because it's easy, and I don't really like to use the cubes because I have to open every one separately. And what I do is I'll just sprinkle some in there till I like it. If you wanted to have, like we talked earlier, if you wanted to have meatless, a vegetarian potato soup, then you'd leave the ham off and also leave off the chicken broth. But the reason I don't want to put very much water in it is because of the stuff I just added. I don't want to lose. If I put a whole lot of water in here, then I'm going to have to pour that water off, and I'm going to lose all the flavor of all this stuff I just put in there. And I certainly don't want to I don't want to lose that. So let me swish that in there. Okay, so there's our soup, and we're going to let it cook. Now, guys, we just have to let it cook until the potatoes, the celery, and the onion are done. So we're going to put a lid on it. Now we're going to bring it to a boil. When it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it down to medium or so. I'm going to go ahead and just, you know how you do. Everybody knows you just crack your lid like that so some of the steam can escape. And then whenever it is 15-20 minutes or so, whenever all your vegetables are tender, then we'll come back and we'll finish up our soup. All right, guys, we're back. We've cooked our potatoes. What we have in here, let me remind you, what we got is we've got our 5 pounds of potatoes is what I use, but use whatever you want to use for your family. 5 pounds of potatoes. We've got a 1 onion. We've got several ribs of celery. We've got some ham in here. And then I put some, I barely covered with water. And then I put some ground mustard in here. I put some garlic and chicken broth in here. So if you can see in my bowl, you can see where the water, I mean the potatoes are really, really cooked down, and they're done now. So if I had a potato masher here, which I don't, I'd kind of crush my potatoes a little bit. What I'm going to use, because I don't have a potato masher, is this whisk. Now I want to kind of break my potatoes up a little bit so that my soup will get just a little thicker, because you know potato is a thickener. There are many in their potato soup. I was telling the guys earlier, there are many who like to thicken up their potato soup with making a roux out of out of flour and maybe a little bit of water to thicken it. I don't like to do that. I don't think that's good for you. So I just try to thicken it with the potatoes that we have. So we're gonna let that go. Now I add evaporated milk. I used to add milk, but it just didn't taste that good. And I asked my mom, I said, Mother, what's wrong with my potato soup? She said, did you put evaporated milk in it? I'm like, no, I didn't. So what I'm gonna do is add a can of evaporated milk. Now let me stir it and see. Yeah. Now some people like their soups on the thick side, and some people like them on the thin side. I like my soups on the thin side. So if Ricky and I were at home and we were going to eat this soup and say, come on, Ricky, let's eat. Well, he would take his spoon. We'll need one of those, that ladle, or Robert, if you could help me with that. And he'd reach in here and he'd get his ladle full of potatoes and ham, and I would try to get mostly broth. So anyway, there's that. Now, so I've got the evaporated milk in there. I'm just gonna I've got some real butter here, and I'm gonna get a couple tablespoons of it. Now this is certainly optional, but thanks Robert, it adds a little bit of flavor, a little bit more flavor to it. Now, so far I haven't put any salt or any pepper in this, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. And of course you can just salt and pepper to taste. We like pepper. If you don't like pepper, leave it out. If you don't like the black flecks in it, and you want to do something different, you can always get the white pepper, and then you won't see that black pepper. So there's that. Now that's going to thicken as it sits. Robert's gotten me. I was just going to show you so this is what he would want in his bowl, but now I would want in my bowl something about like that. So at this point, I'd come in here, I'll put the lid on it. It could be eaten right now, or if it were me, I would just turn it off and I'd let it sit there, and then in about 15 or 20 minutes, I'd come along through there and eat it, and it's gonna be great. And so we're gonna show you the finished product in just a minute. We're gonna put some people, I'll tell you what, something else I like to do. If you cook mashed potatoes, now whether they're homemade mashed potatoes, whether they're frozen ones that you've cooked, or whether they are potato flakes that you made Hungry Jack mashed potatoes or whatever. If I have leftover mashed potatoes in the refrigerator, to me they're not good just to warm them up. They don't taste very good, but they are good in your potato soup. Now you know how when you put mashed potatoes up in the refrigerator and you get them out, they're just all clumped together just in a wad. So I would take my spoon and I'd take a spoonful of them, plop it in there. No spoon. I'd break them up, put them in there, they'll melt in there, and ooh, it makes it so creamy and good. So you could also add some sour cream in that would be good. But what we do is we take a bowl and we put the potato soup in a bowl. Sometimes we add additional salt and pepper. We'll sprinkle it with cheddar cheese, and it's some good eating, especially on a cold winter day. So, hope you enjoy the homemade potato soup.